recent decades, the people of New Zealand lived in majestic isolation, cut off from the rest of the world by infinite distances. From Auckland in the north, it's 1,200 miles to the nearest landmass, Australia, and 6,500 miles to San Francisco.
My name's Martyn Goulding. I'm a professor here at the Salk. I work in neuroscience. I grew up in New Zealand. I grew up, actually we were always pretty close to nature. My grandparents lived next to a forest. My father also very close, so we were often in the forest at the back of the house, playing at the beach. As a teenager I spent a lot of time on farms. But I think it was really at school that I sort of developed an interest in biology. My mother contracted polio when she was a teenager. I remember growing up as a kid, one of the first things that she was really adamant about was to ensure that we'd had our polio vaccines. When I was at high school, what would happen is she was working at the public library, and each day after school I would leave school and I would go to the public library because I needed to help her put a wheelchair back in the car to get back home. So this would leave me with, an hour, couple of hours, in the library, and I just loved it. I always loved books, always loved reading. And I think one of the first sort of conscious memories that I have is that there was a book there. It was a cell biology book. It had a lot of these sort of micrographs, these EM images of cells, substructures in cells, and of viruses. And of course, one thing that did catch my attention was these images of poliovirus. I think that sort of piqued my interest in cell biology. So yeah, when I came to the Salk, when she knew that I actually had a position at the Salk, my mother, as you can imagine, was exceptionally excited because for her, this resonated very much with her. When I started university, I think my initial goal was to study medicine, and I actually got the opportunity to work in a lab over the summer. And maybe the best way of describing this is like the Garden of Eden, where you take a bite of the apple and there's no turning back, and I just loved it. That's the place I really wanted to be. I was really excited by it. And so I ended up doing, my undergraduate and graduate work at the University of Auckland. And during that time I was working in a lab that was really looking at the cell cycle. We were interested in cancer. I was really attracted to that, and that was one of the areas that I focused on for my PhD thesis. After that, I sort of had the opportunity to sort of switch fields. There was this new exciting field beginning to flourish, which was developmental biology. For my postdoc, I moved out of cancer biology and I headed to Germany and started working on embryonic development. That was really, I think, the foundation for my career here at the Salk. It was challenging. It was, in some ways, it's frightening. You come to an institution, you're a junior person, you've got a number of Nobel laureates. But you could sort of sense that intense sort of intellectual drive here, and I was really attracted to it, and I sort of thought, well, this is potentially the place where I can do my best science, and I was going to give it a shot. I've always thought that science is really, what really makes us humans. We want to understand the world around us. And so, one of the big drives for me is just trying to understand, some aspect of the world we live in, or actually the bodies that we live in. And in this case, what I'm really interested in is understanding, how can our nervous system create movement? How does it control movement? And the second thing we're really interested in is we're really interested in understanding how an aspect of what we call our sensory system, which is somatosensation, how that information is used to control movement. One of the things you want to do as a scientist is first, you want to follow a question, you want to answer a question. And also you want to reinvent yourself, and you want to reinvent the questions that you're asking. And I think that this allowed me to sort of go out and sort of ask some very challenging questions. And I think it also has laid the foundation for a renaissance actually in the motor control field, such that I now see when I travel to meetings that the work that was done here at the Salk is really the foundation for work that's now being done in a large number of other labs around the world. And for me that's really sort of really exciting to see.